I'll still wait for the wave. Okay, all right. I think we will call to order the West Fargo Public Library meeting on Thursday, June 17th at 5:30 p.m. I'd like to welcome some guests that we have with us today. We have incoming board members, Tony Stukel and Leanne Hansen, and our new deputy director, Maria, who I don't know her last name, but welcome. Kramer. Oh, that's right, Maria Kramer. You got it right. So the first item on our agenda is to approve the order of the agenda.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor of approving the order of agenda, please say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Next item is the consent agenda.
I'll move to approve.
I will second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and a second. Is there any discussion regarding the consent agenda? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Our next item on the regular agenda is the approval of the library board orientation guide.
Good evening, board members. At the May meeting, you'll recall that I presented an outline of a new board orientation that I have been preparing with Alana to orient the continuing board members and the 2 new board members that we have coming on board with us next month. So we have orientation planned for next Wednesday, June 23rd from 1 to 5 p.m. And accompanying this orientation, we also prepared an orientation guide that will kind of supplement what we'll talk about next Wednesday, but also go into more depth and be a good resource for board members on an ongoing basis. So we put this together, I included it in your packet. And tonight I am seeking any feedback and discussion that you have about it and would also like to request your formal approval for it.
I'll move to approve the guide.
Yes, I think it was a great way to get board members on pace, so I will second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Is there discussion?
I just wanted to say that I thought it was very, very good. And I think it will be a great addition to have on hand for new members, but also for the current members. I think I'll speak for myself. I'll appreciate going through it.
Thank you, Jody.
John, have you had a chance to review it? I sent it to you. I agree with Jody. It is a great guide. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in approving the library board orientation guide, please say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Moving on to the reviewing of the 2022 library budget draft. And I'll just interject quickly that Mandy will not be able to join us tonight.
Thanks, Alana. So tonight I am excited to share with you a draft of the library's 2022 proposed budget. We are making some phenomenal strides in improving access to the library through outreach and improving public awareness of the library through major campaigns like Giving Hearts Day and our community-wide survey. And the future is looking bright, though we do have financial challenges that need to be addressed. And so I will touch on those in upcoming slides. And to recap a little bit about tonight and the process where this fits into the full process. Won't be asking for approval of the budget tonight. This is just for your feedback and discussion and questions, and to get a look at the draft. And then at the July 8th regular meeting of the Board of Directors, I'll ask you to make a motion to approve the budget at that time if things continue on course. And our budget will also be included in the overall 2022 city budget draft with the rest of the city departments as well. So if we are in step with the schedule that we had last year, I would expect the preliminary draft of this full city budget to go before commission for feedback and questions. If it's similar to last year, probably Monday, August 2nd. And we also, it's worth noting, we talked about starting to work with a budget team, which includes various stakeholders on the commission, including Commissioner George and Commission President Dardis and city staff, and then Board President Rarick. And so we also have an upcoming budget meeting with that same group next week as well to review a revised draft of the library's budget request, including the feedback that you all have tonight. So I arranged this presentation in the same order as the information is presented in your packet in the budget notes that I included for you. And so first we will do a high level overview of what the budget request supports. So big picture, what does it mean and what our financial needs are and what our financial issues are. And then we'll talk about revenue and probably spend most of this talk there. And then we'll summarize expenses within the request. And then at the end, of course, open up for questions, discussion, revisions. So just to orient us in this process again, and this is something that we talked about last month too, the full process that we have changed this year is we've worked collaboratively with commissioners and city staff this year on our budget more closely. We are there where the arrow is. The library board is reviewing a draft of the budget. Prior to this, we met with that group of people a couple of times. And prior to that, along the way, myself and managers worked on drafting this budget request. So like I said, next week, we're meeting with the budget group again to look at another draft of the library's budget. And then if we are on track, the next progression would be seeking formal approval from the library board. And then after that, it would go through the approval process through the city commission. So what does the 2022 budget request support? So let's take a minute and step back before we start, and let me preface with the bigger picture of what this budget request supports and what our ongoing financial challenges have been. So this budget request supports maintaining our current level of service, both in the library and outreach services. And that certainly doesn't mean that we're not going to redesign services and work towards goals in our new strategic plan that we're developing. It does mean that at this time, I don't anticipate major financial impacts from any service improvements that we will make in 2022. So we're continuing the good work that we are through this request. There is not a significant change in the needed mill levy from 2021 to 2022. The needed mill levy to support operations in 2021 was 8.18, and the needed mill levy to support operations reflected in this 2022 draft request is 8.54. And the 2021 amount levied for the library was 7.43. So this does mean that one additional mill is needed to continue recovery from the 2018 mill reduction. In 2018, the city commission reduced the library's mill levy and opted to have the library operate using its reserve fund on a temporary basis. However, in doing so, the library's reserve fund was substantially reduced over the last 4 years, and the library reserve fund can't support 2022 operations out of it again. So the library's reserve fund account totaled $314,300 at the end of 2022, with expected net deficit of $140,102 at the end of 2021. Like I said, the library can't support operations from its reserve fund again in 2022 and maintain its current level of service. This is a view of our mill history, kind of putting it in just a different view. In 2021, the library, like I said, levied 7.43 mills. The needed levy to support operations within the 2022 budget draft totals 8.54 mills. As you can see though, our mills started to be reduced in 2018 and our needed mill levy remained similar over that time period. And it certainly remained similar from 2021 to 2022. And library staff and I have reviewed the budget for efficiencies, some of which I outlined in your packet. And the 2022 expenses in the draft budget reflect a mill rate that we've needed to operate for a long time. So it's not anything new. And in fact, it's even probably lower than we've levied over the course of the last decade, if you look back historically. This is just another different view of our financial history again, including the reserve fund balance, which is the blue line. Again, the library's mills were reduced and the library's reserve fund began supporting the library's operations in 2018. The 2022 budget draft reflects a net deficit of $219,653. And you can see how the reserve fund won't be able to support operations another year. And it really shouldn't be used for operations on an ongoing basis for this reason. So that's touching on revenue, tax revenue. The other element of revenue that is also in your packet that I outlined notes on is through sponsorships. And most of those come through support through the Friends of the West Fargo Public Library. There's more details in your packet about where we anticipate having private support from the Friends of the Library. In the draft budget, the revenue line that's called sponsorships reflects $25,000 that we have planned to receive in revenue from them in 2022, or that we anticipate receiving and fundraising for. So the expenses or the things that would support would be our Ready to Read early literacy program, new furniture for the children's area of the library, and a $10,000 contribution for future replacement of the Little Red Reading Bus. And I did outline in your packet too the specific expense lines where those items are allocated as well. Okay, so expenses. I outlined in a lot more detailed information about expenses in your packet, so I won't go back and re-summarize all of that information here, but I'm certainly happy to answer any questions that you have as well. I think I put this pie chart on here because I think it really illustrates where most of our expenses are and the things to focus on as we plan for this year's budget and going forward. And the most important thing to note, like I said, is that every year personnel, collections, rent, and other service agreements comprise approximately 90% of the library's budgeted expenses. We don't really budget a lot of discretionary funds each year, and so we typically know what our expenses are going to be. And I point this out, like I said, because it's important for, I think, the board and staff to focus on these things as we look forward, especially in the coming year, as we start turning our attention toward that long-term financial planning that we've been talking about. So what are the things to plan for and focus on? It's these things: staffing, facility, and core operations. Okay, so just to recap everything, one additional mill is needed to continue recovery from the 2018 mill reduction. Not receiving the mill would have a major operational impact on the library, likely requiring cutting multiple FTE, which would be a substantial reduction in services provided to the public. It would be a big reduction in our operation, and cutting open hours in and of itself wouldn't necessarily be a solution or reduce the budget enough to cover the deficit. We would have to cut multiple full-time staff, and we only have 12 full-time staff, and they all support distinct areas of the library. So cutting one is going to cut a service area very steeply. And so things like getting new books out, ordering materials, providing offsite services, programs, having enough full-time staff to support in-library customer service, those are all things that our full-time staff really stand up. And our departments fit together like a puzzle to support these core operations. And I will say too that we've really done our due diligence on the staffing. We've reorganized things, departmentalized, retooled positions to make it the leanest, most efficient that I possibly could over the last couple of years. And we as a staff have worked hard on this too. And in many cases, we've not asked for more staff to do new or redesigned services, we've really focused on reallocating our time and rethinking how we spend our time to do a lot of the redesigned and new things that we're doing. And we're already very understaffed as it is. If you look at our peers across the Plains region, on average, most of them support an FTE of 19 per 25,000 population. We have an FTE of 15. So that's worth noting too. And I think even in a year like 2020, the library continues to see growth in its usage, and we continue to break our own records. And it's really hard and kind of impossible to imagine cutting the primary resource that we need to address the growth that we've seen in our community, which is our staff, our people. So, and with that, I'm going to open it up for questions, discussion, revision, any discussion.
Oh, thank you, Chris. I think it's important that the public know that what you just said for the last 10 minutes, that your staff is working both smarter and harder. And so their tax dollars are being well taken care of. I think that's important right now to make sure the public understands. So thank you.
I know in past years, I've had a lot of questions regarding the budget, but since I've been a part of these fiscal team meetings, I can vouch that Carissa has done a really good job of keeping expenses as low as she can and still maintain a really good library. There's nothing that jumps out in the budget to me that's out of line. Everything is very steady. And so we just really need that extra mill in order to keep going forward.
Yeah, I would say the changes in the categories that I saw, that were substantial enough to make note of them. I mean, they just made sense to me. They make sense in terms of what we have discussed needing to make changes to address the service areas that we want to make changes to and improve and expand. So nothing really sort of stood out, that didn't already seem like an area that we wanted to address.
So Carissa, I know you went through this when you showed us the slide with the arrow on it and where we're at. So today we're not looking for approval,
Yep.
But this will be presented. What's the next step after this?
Next step is our budget meeting next week with the
Yes,
budget
and
team.
then-
Yep,
and
and
then
then
from
after
there what
that
happens?
July meeting would be when approval would be requested from the library board. So,
Okay.
yep.
And once the board has approved it, that doesn't mean that the mill levy changes, correct? That's what we're requesting that the commission gives us. Okay.
That's correct.
So no action needs to be taken on this item. Larry can do that, but we do have two outgoing board members. And I'd like to hear any insight if you're willing to share.
Well, hopefully the commissioners will remember the 2018 discussions we had when Larry and I first joined. The previous board members had been very prudent and very wise and had saved a nice amount of reserve funds, and the city needed those reserve funds. And so we gave them the reserve funds. So hopefully the commissioners will remember that now in 2021.
If there is no further discussion, we will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the discussion of public transit related to library services. So at our last meeting, we discussed the MAT bus route and our preference to have it relocated a few blocks north so that it stops at the library. And I pursued that a little bit, and then I did share with the board individually that I was not going to pursue that any further based on some conversations that Mandy had talked to somebody about it and some of the research I had done. And so I just want to fill you in on why I stopped the process. One of the things that we found out is that bus route, it is a very, very tight scheduled bus route. So it can affect more than our bus route to change it. The other thing is with the costs involved, they could be incurred by the city or even the library to move it. And it is my personal opinion that the library doesn't have the finances to move the stop. We don't know the cost. But there was just enough red flags that I paused the process. I was hoping Mandy was going to be here. She was very involved in the research of it and has more information that I can share. But unfortunately, she can't be here tonight.
Thanks for bringing it up with the city and with Matt. And at the very least, they know the library exists, and it could remain in their consciousness the next time they talk about routes and such like, and with an eye towards revising the route that's close to the library. So, but thanks for your work on that.
And I believe MetroCog is possibly reviewing the routes right now anyhow. I will say if individuals want to get involved, their website has a page where you can request a route stop or a route change. So that is something that individuals can do. John, if there was a motion to take action last time in regards to a letter campaign or something, do we have to take action to stop that?
Yeah, you probably should have like a motion to just terminate that action,
Okay.
just so it's clear on the record.
There was a motion to take action, I believe.
Can we take,
Send the letter.
some sort of modification of the action that we revisit this maybe in 3 to 6 months to sort of check in with, and maybe Mandy can weigh in on it, because I really do feel like this is really important, and maybe we can just keep it on our radar. I don't know how we would modify the action to maybe table it for 6 months. Can we do that?
Let me read the motion that was approved at the last meeting. Schwartz made a motion for the library board to send a collective letter to the Fargo-Moorhead Metropolitan Council of Governments and advocate for better public transportation services to and from the library, making the library a bus stop. And that motion was approved.
Okay, so maybe I could modify the motion to remove the component for the letter and just leave that the library table the motion for 6 months, but to revisit advocating for better transportation to and from the library.
Is that a motion?
Yes, I'm making that motion.
I will second that motion.
Is there any discussion on the motion to not take action, but to review this again in a few months? Hearing none, all those in favor of said motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Jody, I'm sorry, I could not remember how long that motion was. There were so many words in it.
Okay, no problem.
Whoever is taking notes will be able to figure that out.
You got the most important part.
Next on our agenda is to discuss the timing of board officer elections. This is something that I asked Carissa to put on the agenda. And I'll tell you why I asked her to put it on the agenda, and then I'll tell you why I should have told her, not asked her to do so. So when I joined, we were without leadership for a few months. And so I thought that perhaps if we had altered our bylaws to having the July board meeting be when we elect officers, if we did that, say in January, then the board of directors with new people coming in, we would all know each other's strengths and weaknesses and be able to do that. And that was a great idea. And then I realized that it will always reset itself as board members leave. Because if a board member leaves in July when their term ends and they're president, but there's not, the election doesn't happen until January, you have 6 months where you're still trying to fill positions. So you'd essentially have 2 officers elections a year. So in theory, it was a really good idea. But I don't think we need to take any motion on that. Carissa, this is going to be way shorter than you thought. So we'll move on to our next item, which is the director's report.
Thank you, Alana. My portion will be brief, and Lauren is gonna talk and give you guys some really awesome updates about how Summer Boost and the Little Red Reading Bus program is going and how our 50th anniversary celebration, which all of you were at, how that went as well. But I have a few other items that I'm gonna mention before too. I also wanted to say welcome to Leanne Hansen and Tony Stukel. So thanks to both of you for being here. I'm really excited to work with you. I also want to give Maria Kramer, our new Deputy Director of Public Services, a chance to come up and introduce herself. So come on up.
Hello, thank you. Yes, my name is Maria Kramer, and I am your new Deputy Director of Public Services. I'm very happy to be here. My background is as a youth services manager down in Colorado, where I gained a lot of experience in team building, project management, personnel management, and making dreams and strategic plans into actual real things. And I hope to bring all that experience to bear here to make the very good ideas of the West Fargo Public Library into realities in the community.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Maria. I've barely given her 30 seconds to sit down this week, so she has been quite busy. So yes, we're so excited to have her on board, and she's already contributing a lot. And I am so excited to see all the great work that she does in West Fargo. One other announcement, we are steadily still working back in some services that we haven't resumed since before the pandemic started. One of those is public reservations of our meeting rooms. So we are going to begin that again on Monday. So those will also begin to be publicly reservable again. So we are looking forward to that. I said already, but we have board orientation next week from 1 to 5 p.m. on Wednesday, June 23rd. And I will be sending a finalized agenda and the board orientation guide out tomorrow to the new board members, and I'll send it to Larry and Steve as well too, and continuing board members too. I'm going to turn it over to Lauren to give some updates about Summer Boost program. We had some visitors with us on the Little Red Reading Bus route this week, so we were very grateful to them. Alana was able to come out and Larry was able to come out, so it was great for them to get to experience it and great to also get their help. There's a lot of fun that happens and a lot of moving parts. And so it's been fantastic to have them out on the route with us. We also welcomed Senator Judy Lee and Representative Austin Schauer on the route as well, and City Commissioner Eric Jardevig. So it was great. And we have additional people, other community partners and stakeholders coming out with us throughout the month of June. So I just wanted to mention that, and I will turn it over to you, Lauren.
Quick question. Is there a fee for public to reserve rooms in the library at service?
Generally speaking, no, we allow like city and nonprofits to use them free of charge. If it cannot be reserved for like birthday parties or bridal showers or things like that. If it's a for-profit entity, then there is a fee associated. But typically most of the interest that we get is like community groups and nonprofits who need a place to host their gatherings. Yeah, so those will be starting up again on Monday, the 21st.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of services that the community doesn't know about. So another good example that I wanted to make sure the public knew about.
Yeah, and then this is also, that's a good point. And this is kind of an opportune time to put that back on people's radars actually, as we relaunch it. So I think that'll be wonderful. Anything else for me before I step away? Okay.
All right, hello everyone. I have the updates from May and then also our start of Summer Boost program so far. One second. There we go. Just didn't push hard enough. All right. So some past things from May. In early May, we attended Color Fest, which was a great event, art-focused event. So we were doing a lot of sidewalk chalk art and street painting things happening. We were also at the Red River Spring Market. That picture on the right is kind of our reading zone we had set up at the market, which was a great opportunity to get people excited and ready for Summer Boost program. We've started a lot of our summer events. So some things we've already had happen is our animal crafts program. We just finished up our animal STEM camp for kids. So they did like animal habitats, some zoo STEM challenges. We had a teen tie-dye party that went really well. We did a big whole family kind of art painting or art rock painting event. We attended the Picnic on the Plaza event with West Fargo Events. And then our Mahjong book clubs and Twisted Stitchers groups have continued to meet as well. We also had a very big event last week, our 50th anniversary party. So we had around 238 people come to the event, which was wonderful to see. They joined us for some speakers. We had our anniversary exhibit, History of the Library exhibit start that evening, and it's continuing to be up in our library. We had door prizes, a community art project, which is really great to read a lot of the stories and favorite things about the library that have been woven into kind of the art piece. So was a really great thing to have out. We had lots of refreshments and then some fun photo opportunities. So everyone had a chance if they wanted to drive the Little Red Reading Bus or be a rider on the bus, and then our little face in the hole cutout thing there. And also the lovely photo frame that people have been having a lot of fun with still today. As of June 1st, the Little Red Reading Bus summer route has begun. As of this morning, we've had over 850 visitors come out to see us at the various sites. Over 600 items have circulated. And each week we visit 12 different sites and we bring out books that people can check out or read while they're there. We have some sort of literacy-based play or activity station. So some things like rhyming words, vocabulary practice, mix and match, memory, those kinds of skills. We always have take-home kits and then lots of movement activities or games. And we've been visited by some wonderful guests at a few of our stops this week as well. We have a lot of fun pictures of kids really enjoying being outside. Families seem to be really excited about coming together, being outside, doing a variety of activities. So kind of that learning and playing together element. The hula hoops, the Jenga blocks, bubbles are in that top right corner there. Those have been really fun play activities from the little ones all the way up through our older kids as well who visit. The bottom right there is an example of some of our more literacy-based kind of learning games. So that's a mix and match game and a memory game as well. We have a giant Connect 4 that's very popular, even with the little ones who can't quite reach up top and need a little bit of help. Tower building happened this morning. She was doing an awesome job. And then obviously we always have our books out as well in kind of a reading zone. And it's been great to see everyone come and spend time doing a little bit of everything. They really explore and kind of engage with everything we have out at the stop. The summer booth so far, we've only been going for about 2.5 weeks so far. We've had nearly 1,300 people come to either events at the library, things we attended in the community or on the route so far. Our Beanstack reading challenges have also been live for a few weeks since May 24th. We have 685 people registered, which is great. It's well over our total number last year, which was about 502, I believe. And we've already logged over 300,000 minutes read this summer so far, which is awesome to see. And we've been getting pretty great feedback from people on the route, conversations we're having, and just things sent in to us. So one mom mentioned that it's so hard to keep kids interested with reading in the summer. So this program really helps. Another one mentioned they love going to the different parks and getting new books. So they like kind of that combination there. And they like the friendly atmosphere where kids can have a lot of fun learning and playing at the same time, which is really what we were trying to do out on the route, kind of combining those two things and making it a whole experience for them. And some of our upcoming events, we will be at the West Fargo Street Fair this Saturday with the bus and some of our activities and books. We have a beginner gardening for small spaces class coming up. Some kids art activities, decorating flower pots, friendship bracelets for teens. We'll be at the West Fargo event STEM Family Night, bringing the bus and some of our Ozobots out there to do a little bit of technology things. We have a family bird watching walk and talk event that we're pretty excited about. That's going to be over at South Elmwood Park. And then our Little Red Reading Bus will continue the route throughout the summer till August 11th. So we have a lot more stops to go with that. And that's all I have.
Want to mention too that I will send an invite to Leanne and Tony to also pick a time if you want to join us out on the route this summer. We'd love to have you too. So, and any other board members that want to come out at any time, we would love having you there. So please join us.
I'd encourage anybody that hasn't seen the exhibit in the upstairs of the library to do so, especially if you love history, or if you love West Fargo, or if you love both. But it would be impossible not to learn something. Whoever put that exhibit together did a very nice job.
Is there any other business? Yeah. Larry, it's your final chance. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting? You could get in before him right now.
I would like to move to adjourn the meeting.
I'm just enjoying that for just a moment.
We can discuss it.
Memory of,
I know, I just want to.
okay, I've enjoyed Larry's motion enough. I'm ready to second now.
Is there any further discussion? We will vote. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned.